there, and welcome to the Secrets of Organ Playing podcast. I'm your host, Vidas Pinkevičius. Welcome to Secrets of Organ Playing podcast number 91. This is Sunday, April 23rd, 2017, and today's guest is an organ builder, Oliver Schulte from Germany, who is the owner of Schulte Orgelbau. He specializes in the development of all kinds of organ concepts and has over 30 years of experience in new construction and restoration. In 1997 until 2000, Oliver apprenticed in his dad's workshop, and in 2001 he started working at Martin Vier organ building in Black Forest, restoring German early Romantic organs. In 2004 he continued his education by taking a masterclass in Ludwigsburg, and in 2005 completing his MBA studies. The most important organ for Oliver is surely the Binns-Schulte organ in the church of Heilig Kreuz, Bonn-Limperich. It was his first project as the owner of Orgelbau Schulte, and by far the most important project because it was the first English rebuild they did. His company would not be what it is now without this instrument. In this conversation, among many other fascinating things, Oliver talks about what does it take to restore old English organs. Let's go to the show.
Thank you so much, Oliver, for joining this conversation. We have been chatting there for 5 minutes already without even noticing that we already covered some very fascinating topics. So
it's my pleasure.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. My pleasure to be here.
Excellent. Before we started with Oliver today, we were starting to discuss the topic of podcast because Oliver listened to a number of my podcasts especially about organ building, and with Gene Bidient and his colleague Martin Vier, who was actually an organ builder originally from Austria, so not far from Germany where Oliver lives. So those things are very fascinating, and right now I'm thinking that there isn't any podcast about organ building. You know, there are many hundreds of organ builders who are very eager probably to share their knowledge, but they're all busy building organs, right?
Absolutely, yes.
So somebody probably should step in and take the lead, so to say, and you with your many contacts maybe would be suitable.
I see where this is going to. Well, we talked about, as you said, we talked about that before in the warm-up, and I really would highly appreciate that because I have quite a lot of contacts to my fellow organ building colleagues here in Germany and abroad. And so many interesting people. As you said, you talked to Gene Beatty and Martin Vier, who I met myself, had the pleasure to meet myself. Very pleasant man, so much interesting stuff to say. And somebody should make a organ building podcast. Indeed, yes.
Yeah, because organ playing, we can learn how to play the organ, I don't know, in schools, conservatories, or universities, right? But with organ building, it's different. You have to apprentice with the master, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
This is the first step, probably. I know there is some degrees offered. You could study formally, but not countries do that. I think Germany can offer this, right? You can learn formally.
We do have, I think we do have a good system of, you said it, apprenticeship and mastership, but the experience you just get by the years. And after apprenticeship, you start learning because you know the basics, you know how to join wood, you know how to make a wooden pipe, but the actual learning, you get deeper into the business just when you know about things. First, it must be the knowledge, and then you get the experience by the years. And this is very important. One of the best things when I made my master was talking to my master colleagues, just connecting and networking and asking. That was very precious for me.
How is the organ building world today? Are they eager to share the knowledge, or are they hiding the knowledge?
Well, let's say it's complicated. There are many companies which open their doors. Of course, there are always those who close their doors, making mysteries about what they do. It isn't a mystery at all, but it actually takes a lot of experience. But especially when I go to England, to the United States, all doors are open, and I can say this just for a little example. We are building a 62 stop organ now, which is based on an English organ, on a Walker organ, and we will add a 32 foot. And I was looking for scales for that 32 foot, and I asked Manuel Rosales. I need some scales. I don't have any nice scales for the 32 foot. I want to build them Haskell styled. And several days later, I had an email with all technical drawings and explanations how to make that 32 foot. And that's just one example of how open the organ building world today can be, and I really appreciate that.
Well, exactly, Oliver, because is this your first 32-foot stop?
The first one to build here, yes, and we are really eager to do that.
You have built 8-foot stops, 16-foot stops, 2-foot stops, mixtures, all kinds of different, but 32 is different, and probably people around the world should understand that when you're building this massive, magnificent stop like this, you only have two choices, basically. Either you have to take measurements from existing organs, right, from existing 32 pipe stops, use them or adjust them to given situation, of course, to your room or so. But you first have to measure, right? You have to go on location, and that's very time-consuming work sometimes to measure each pipe. Although 32, maybe you have 30 or so pipes total, maybe that wouldn't take a week or so, but it would be a day really just to measure. And another option is really ask for help from other people who are building, who have built 32-foot stops in the past. Right?
Yeah, that's it. So we don't have that 100 years of company history. My dad founded the company in 1978, and we are actually a rather small company with 6 people working here. And but I am always happy to ask my colleagues for their experience, sharing. Maybe they can use something I know. So that's a give and take, and that's very important, I think.
Actually, this is a crucial piece of information you've been saying to me, Oliver, because when we hide something, right, we isolate from the world's knowledge, right? We may be very experienced in organ playing, organ building alone. We might be but the world is a greater place. If you find 2 people, you have twice as many amounts of knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And they collaborate, and they eat of each other and work with each other. And I think they get all kinds of benefits from sharing that in today's world.
There is no use of making, for anyone, making a mystery of what we do. Either organ builders or organists, what happens is when we make a mystery of what we do, we disconnect the instrument from the audience, from the not organ building or not organist people, to those people we actually built these instruments for. We just get ourselves back into our ivory tower and make our little Harry Potter stuff, and that's not, I see no use in that. So let's open the doors, let's show everybody what we are doing, and that's very important, I think, because the organ has some issues in reputation nowadays, and we have to work on that.
We'll get back to this in a moment, Oliver.
Yeah.
This is information, but let's go back in time when you first started, basically. Do you remember the story, how you first fell in love with the organ?
Well, it's not that spectacular. When I talk about my history, if you want to say so, in organ building, I have to mention my dad. He started the company in 1978. And I always want to say that he never forced me into the business, and that was very, very, very good for me. Mm-hmm. He took me to tuning tours and took me to the workshop. I worked there when I was a kid with wood, and so I got the connection to the craftsmanship and to the instrument. And mm-hmm. I started playing piano when I was 7, at 20 years of piano lessons. And so I got the musical connection from that. And I started my apprenticeship, which in Daddy's business, in Daddy's workshop, with what I wanted, in 97, yes. And then was not really spectacular, 3.5 years of apprenticeship. Then I went to company of Martin Vier in the Black Forest for about a year. I learned very much about restoration there. Came back, made some years of freshman and master in 2004. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
And I just disconnect the phone. We don't need it now. So
interesting. It's all started with your dad, right?
Yes.
Your dad was the initial piece of inspiration for you. And do you remember what exactly you found fascinating about the organ? About complexity, perhaps?
Yes,
about
the complexity of mechanical tracker action. I can remember when he took me to a tuning of a tracker action that he made. It was about 30 stops. I still know that organ, and I completely did not know what happened inside when you push the key and something moves inside. There were so many wooden straps, those, and I was completely messed up.
And how did you react to this? Did you wanted to find out more how it works, or you were scared about the complexity?
I was very curious how that works. I kept asking questions, and well, Dad explained, and made the connection to the instruments very intense.
You know, that's where people get lost, especially organists. They press the key or the pedal, and that's it. It plays or it not doesn't play, doesn't matter. They don't even think about how the sound is produced. Many people, not everybody, but if you're curious enough, you can open the panels, right? You can open the doors, and you really see this connection, especially on the mechanical organ. It's so easy to understand all those connections and abstracts and what else. if you have the initial curiosity to find out more, then the fear of the complexity is not that challenging, right? You overcome this challenge with curiosity.
Yes. At least you should never lose your curiosity, no matter what age. That's it. Yes, and it's not magic what we do. Well, at least, yeah, it should work. Let's say it this way. But if you open the doors, if you open the panels, you see the complexity of that, and well. Most of my organ building colleagues are always very happy to explain what happens inside.
Have you ever encountered yourself in a situation where you couldn't figure out how it works yourself? Where you really got lost? Maybe not on a mechanical organ, maybe on electro-pneumatical or electronic, something more complex than you initially could handle.
Well, if you have an electrical organ, you just can figure out where the problem is, get the electric component out, send them into the supplier of your choice, and that's it. If a tracker breaks, you can glue it together or you can replace it. If a wind chest cracks, you can restore it. But if there's something on electronics, well, you have to deal with your suppliers, and then the normal organ builder is just the one replacing some components.
Right. Your basically experience and education doesn't perhaps involve too much complex things into electronics, right?
Let's say it should. It should. You have to know this much to figure out where the problem is, and you don't need to have to be a programmer in C++, but you have to figure out where the problem is to get in touch then with your supplier and talk on him on a base where you can both communicate.
Yeah, at least to describe the problem, right?
Mm-hmm. That's it.
I remember we have this notebook on our organ here in church, and sometimes other people come to play, and in this notebook I ask them to write down the problems if they have, C ciphers, here ciphers, sticky keys, things not working, not in tune. And sometimes I read them, It's so fun to read the organists' handwriting about things they don't have a clue about. Sometimes they write, the organ is not working at all. The problem is just one key, for example, or one pipe in one stop, They are not curious actually to figure out what exactly is not working. They say, no, it's not playable. Not playable.
I have an example. I can imagine. Some years ago we installed a new electronic setter action, combination action, and for some reason it would just turn into a randomized combination of stops, just so, without pushing a button. And it would do that maybe twice or twice a week. And we were completely clueless. And then I ordered an electrician who should check the electrics of the church electrics. It came out that the combination action got power pulses of about 80 volt because the church electrics was so, crappy that the setter action, which is normally running on 24 volt, gets power pushes of 80 volt. So that was the problem. And you have to know enough to figure out where the problem is. And that we did, but it took quite a while, I admit.
Yeah, and as organ builder, you have to have this mentality of problem solving all the time, like engineers do, right? Do you have engineering background, by the way, Oliver?
Not me. So I have the craftsmanship background, but I'm very interested exactly in engineering, in mechanical stuff, in electrics. My hobby is programming, not really high class programming, but website HTML, a little bit Pascal based programming. So I would say I'm a techie guy, very.
It helps
into technology, yes.
So when you discover the problem or challenge, you don't start to cry, right?
At least not when my customer is around. Yes.
I remember when I was maybe 3 years old or maybe 2 years old, my mom bought me a bicycle on 3 wheels or 4 wheels, with support.
Yeah.
This little toy. I would drive with it and everything would be fine. But then I could get stuck into the some kind of construction material or near the door someplace, and my bicycle couldn't move.
Yeah.
And I start to cry, start crying. And my mom say, let's, she would teach me, let's figure out why did the bicycle stop, this mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And repeat after her, in my child voice, let's start to figure out, why it stopped.
Yeah.
So I couldn't cry anymore, and I got curious, and all it took maybe was to wiggle the wheel or to so, and it would be solved. So that was my first idea about problem solving. What was your first challenge that you had to overcome without crying?
Without crying, I have to think very deep on that.
Crying doesn't help,
Well, sometimes it helps in a way. No, I have to think about that. I think it was,
the first technical challenge, but not easy. Easy you figure out with your curiosity, but something that you got stuck. And you had to use your brain.
When I think back, I think it was when I made a how do you call it? When I was in school at about 10th grade, you go to workshops for 1 or 2 weeks, being a trainee. I think it is called a trainee, or just to get the view how the working life would be for 1 or 2 weeks when you are in school. And I did that in that workshop, and I had to make an organ model, and Dad gave me some construction plans of an existing organ, and he said, okay, now deal with that and make a small model of that organ. So that was the first memory. That is the first memory that I have actually dealing with some problems, solving craftsmanship problems. How can I turn the wood in that way that it will be an organ model?
Right.
Well, that I have some memories of that. Yes.
So that was the first challenge, right? And later you overcome this challenge, and of course received another challenge, right? Challenge after challenge, and failure after failure, probably.
Yes.
Did you? You know what is success? I think definition of success. in today's world, Oliver, is that going from failure to failure with undying optimism.
Yeah. Well, at least the latter I have, yeah.
Yeah. That's
That's
what
a good word, yeah.
we all do, probably. Without failures, without mistakes, we can't advance, we can't learn, right?
Yeah. Of
And
course,
sometimes,
it's of course always better to learn from the mistakes of others. But life happens, and life gives you mistakes, and life gives you opportunity to learn from them, from those.
yeah, sometimes people get stuck in the idea of avoiding mistakes as much as possible, and then not taking enough manageable risks. Not doing enough of risky things in any area, in organ playing, in constructing organs, in building organs, designing organs even, right?
Yeah.
Or restoring them. And they always do things that they feel comfortable with, that they are in comfort zone,
Absolutely,
right?
yes. Look,
And
let's have a look at organ building history, where we would not have this much experience of decades and centuries of organ building if there wouldn't have been those mistakes, which we can say now, oh, we better don't use these materials, or we don't use that glue. There was always that guy who tried that first, and now we know that's a failure. But that's very important to know as well.
Right. Like in organ playing also, somebody wrote, ugly pieces in Renaissance, beginning of Renaissance, late Middle Age, and left this, manuscript. And later students, later generations could study this manuscript and figure out, oh, he used parallel fifths, forbidden instrument, and we will not do this because it sounds, not natural, not every voice is not independent this way if you use parallel intervals. But there was a time in music, especially in Middle Ages, where parallel fifths were allowed.
Yes.
13th century, that was still okay. Times changes, modes and fashions change, and temperaments change, right? Tuning system changes, and different intervals become the norms. Right. Wonderful. So what's your favorite, Oliver, historical period that you are basing your organs on?
That's very hard to say, and I admit I would not prefer any period to another, because I see them on the same level. I really love romantic instruments, and I do love. We work a lot with English romantic instruments. I love the American symphonic music. I love the English romantic music. But at the same time, I really do love middle-toned instruments from the 17th century. Listening to a palestrina on a mean-toned instrument is wow.
Yes, those sounds are very beautiful when tuned properly, right? You hear those the perfect major thirds, the perfect sweet sounds, and C major chord is no longer, harsh. It's so sweet that it can draw your tears out of your.
It's so intense listening to a clean chord. We just forgot how that sounds.
Right.
All the well-tempered instruments we are building now, which have, of course, their backgrounds and their reasons, but now listening to really a clean third, a clean fifth, that's so intense for me.
And every period has its own qualities that you might admire, right?
Absolutely,
in the period, of course, we admire the symphonic sound, how the organ instrument can really compared to symphonic orchestra in one way or another, how one person can basically imitate an orchestra, right? And make transcriptions of orchestral pieces playing, or organ symphonies, right? Like they did in France. So every period is so valuable and probably draws from the previous periods, right?
Yes.
Like Cavaillon learned from previous French organ masters, right?
Yes.
You know, and Zilberman would learn from other instruments, right? That came before that. And you, Oliver, are also a students of those days, and you're also learning from previous masters. Who is your maybe master right now? Do you have a master, model master right now?
Well, that's a good question. I had the opportunity to look into several Silberman organs when I was in the masterclass, and seeing the mechanical action of those were really an eye opener. When it comes to sounds and scalings, I'm really fond of companies like Willis or Walker. So I wouldn't say I have this organ builder Cavalier Call is in all belongings my idol. I would specify that.
Right. So somebody asked me also, what's my favorite organ composer? And I thought it's a wrong question to ask, right? The favorite organ composer is the one you are playing right now.
Thank you.
So yes. An instrument, for example, based on a certain historical style, this is your favorite right now, but it doesn't mean it will be favorite a week from now, or it was your favorite last year, right? You probably treat it independently, and you are always falling in love with your current work, right?
Yeah. Sometimes people ask me, which is your favorite instrument you ever built? And my question is always the next.
Right. There are organists who cannot really listen to their recordings. You know, they make a recording or play a title with recording equipment and prepare recording, make even a CD, but never listen to the CD, you know, because always busy doing something next. Are you one of those people who is not looking back at your previous work, Oliver, and always looking to the future?
Yeah.
Yes. So then what's next for you? And by the way, how many organs have you built to date?
Well, since my dad founded the company in 1978, he had the opportunity to build completely, fully new organs, mostly mechanical tracker, some electric organs. That until the early 2000s, we were at about roughly a little bit more than 30 new instruments, going up to 3 manuals, 47 stops. But business has changed until then. So in Germany, there was the problem that the building of new organ, that market has completely not completely, but mostly collapsed, especially for companies of our size. So we had a massive problem when, especially at the times when I took over the company here, and we had to deal with that. So now we are dealing with English instruments, and with these instruments we have about 7 projects made based on that since I started here in 2007. 6.
Right.
6.
How far in advance are you planning your work, Oliver? Do you have a, like a schedule of other instruments that you will be working on?
Yes, and I'm very happy to say that we are now busy until the end of 2020.
That's a safe amount of time.
Yes, it makes you sleep very calmly.
to get other clients. This is very good. I always teach my students this type of thinking when you're playing a recital, right? Organ recital, and somebody comes up to you and says, "Oh, it was wonderful. What's your next recital?" And usually people say, "Oh, I don't know. I will see. It depends.
Yeah.
If somebody invites them, they will get." But I always teach to have at least 5 recitals lined up in the future for them, so that they could actually say this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until maybe 2 or 3 years in advance, or maybe just a few months in advance. If you're playing one recital every month, that would be not yet. More recitals, with this kind of schedule in your company, then of course it's very important to schedule your work well in advance, because those people work for you and you are sort of responsible, right, for them.
Yes. So really, my people count on me to get the business on, and really I'm really happy to have the work to do here.
Let's talk about the business side of organ building. What do you do to get the project on your list? Do you get proactive asking, or you wait for contracts?
Well, as you know, we have a special. We specialize very much on reusing, restoring, or rebuilding English instruments, and I think I might say that we got. I don't want to say famous. That always sounds like being stars. But I think people recognized us. People recognized us all over Germany, maybe on an international base as well. Not being the local organ builder anymore, but giving a solution for churches which cannot afford a completely new organ, but they want to have a high quality organ, have longing for a nice sound, and we can offer a solution for that. So we got many inquiries from Germany. So there, at the moment, I don't need to get this much proactive because we have very much inquiries coming in. I'm very happy that this works, because I experienced worse time as well.
Yes, your reputation now precedes you, right? Your previous work is your legacy, and how you worked, your quality, your probably past clients are evangelists for you, right? They can even recommend you for your future clients, right?
Well, that's the plan, yes.
If you do the right work, right? If you do the quality restoration, let's say, then of course you can turn back to them and say, would you recommend us to this church, and like this. And another technique, which is really, really easy to use, but sometimes it's so often overlooked, is when you go, for example, to inspect an organ in a church, right? Just to inspect without any agenda, of selling your services, or even to fix some ciphers, to do some maintenance, right?
Mm-hmm.
You use this notebook with your past projects written down, right? Maybe 30 organs, maybe restorations, maybe repair work, maybe maintenance. Plus, you have a list of your past clients there with their telephone numbers. You see people, and you give this notebook to that person in charge of this church while you're working on that instrument, right? While you're checking, and say, please take a look, and I'll be busy for an hour or so. You just, be my guest and take a look at my client's, notebook. In general, it makes miracles because it boosts your expertise and social trust level, so that, of course, you will be the next provider of services for that person because you have an extensive list of past clients.
The organ building world, I'm totally with you, yes. The organ building world is a very small microcosmos. And the quality level of organ building is extremely high. You build a mediocre organ instrument once, and then you're out of business. Maybe you made it twice, but then at latest, you're out of business. So No matter what you do, building new organs, building new components, or restorations, or rebuildings, you always have to take the highest measures of quality. So, because no matter if we take used English material from the 19th century, once it's restored, I can say at least another 100 years. That's about it, making quality work no matter what you do.
Yes. Another technique that is wonderful and powerful is document your work, basically. Organists forget that all the time, They celebrate their recital. They make poster about invitation, how, to please come to my recital. They create this event on Facebook, and their friends are invited to the result. But nobody is even aware of the process that is taking place, how to prepare this kind of program for non-stop 60-minute recital. In your case, organ restorations, right? Is aware what goes behind the scenes when you go into your office or on location in that English church. What do you do there? So one is the advice is really videotaping and recording and posting online, like a video blog, right? Or even live streaming, if you have a Wi-Fi in that location, is amazing way of getting attention and trust.
It's so important to get to people not related to the organ, not being an organ builder or not being an organist. Let's say, I don't want to be disrespectful, but the normal people, the audience which you play for, which I make the instrument for the audience. You need to get those people and show them what we do. They always stand in awe and they say, "Oh my God, it's so huge! I don't want to touch it. I don't want to look inside." No, look inside. I very often have groups here in the workshop, from kindergarten kids up to seniors, and the interesting thing is every generation is fascinated. The youth is fascinated. The kids are fascinated. The elderly people are fascinated, and that's what I try to do from my small position here, to transport this fascination of organ building, of organ playing, to I don't want to say the world. It sounds so big, but to the audience, to the people.
Right. And when you document your process, then you don't have to think about marketing at all, right? You're just sharing your work.
Yeah.
The idea I've got about sharing your work is actually from the writer Austin Kleon from America, who wrote a book, two books actually, or even more now, one was still like an artist, about creative ideas, about how to ideas that are creative, because nothing really is original. You just borrowing ideas from others, especially from people, from dead masters, right? You like English masters you are adoring, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And he wrote another book called Show Your Work, and it based on two ideas that you have to show not only your result but also the process. He calls it stock and flow. Stock is your big time result, like finished organs, right? Flow is what leads to the result, leads day-to-day work.
Exactly. Yeah.
Keep showing, keep sharing, and keep showing up where people are gathering online, and then we little by little will gather our fan base.
Yes, and I can only recommend doing this to every organ builder. Get the people to your work, and then I understand why a normal, in brackets, cleaning of an organ costs an amount of money. When people see what you do, oh, that's a lot of work to do. Oh, it has more pipes than just the 10 I am seeing right now. 1,000 pipes inside. So then people get the point that what you do for your money.
Right. Because you're sharing, you basically letting them into your world.
Yes, and it connects, sorry to interrupt you, but it connects the parish people to their instrument. We experience that every time I make a Facebook album from our projects, seeing the workflow, showing the workflow, showing what we do, and we get the feedback from the parish church. Oh, now we see how it is made, and the connection is made. Right. It's not just like making an instrument, just like an IKEA board, transporting, presenting the finished product, that's it. No, you have to take the people by the hand and show them what you do.
And the third technique is the one we had started this conversation from, being a source, basically. With this podcast conversation, I'm being a source of whatever organ playing world means, right? They come to me, I invite experts, they share their knowledge and inspiration, and it all comes down to this project of secrets of organ playing. I'm the source of it. So in organ work or in restoration work, also it's very valuable to become the source where people would come to you for knowledge, inspiration, not necessarily starting a podcast, but basically giving advice, like sharing how to make an organ pipe, right? How to fix the cipher, how to do this. And maybe you could also gear it towards your future clients, maybe what they are really interested in. Think about what your future customers want. And that also take care of any kind of marketing, and your reputation would go through the roof.
Well, yes, simply yes. I'm totally with you.
So it's only a matter of time when people will start doing this from all kinds of professions, all kinds of areas. And organ playing, organ building is sort of a little bit behind now of this. I don't see many people doing this, but 5 years from now it will be just basic knowledge and everybody will doing this. So whoever starts it first will have a head start, of course.
Well, it was always my goal to not to close the doors here, just open the doors, showing, sharing. And when I get back the feedback, as for example Manuel Rosales, then that's very it's like a little precious moment when I see, okay, there are other people thinking the same way, and that makes it very, very valuable.
The fourth technique, I will tell you the fourth tip. Today
I'm all ear.
keeping giving advice mode or mood. The fourth tip is, from my experience, one of my students from Australia was featured in a local newspaper. Very small, insignificant local newspaper. Wonderful student, organ enthusiast, engineer by profession, by the way. And he's playing the organ, His name was John, and if John is listening, John Higgins is his last name. And I remember his story because he sent the link to this newspaper for me to read. And in the paper interview was his picture at the organ and his story, how he started playing, plus my name, I was his, and I was so honored, and I was compelled to share this article with the world because, well, it made me feel good.
Feels good. Yeah, it feels good.
So what Manuel Rosales did to you recently, right? He gave you freely advice. Then, of course, you could do for him is to post a link to your conversation and tag him so that he would be honored in this also.
Yeah, so that's the least. I mean, what can I do for big companies? So I'm just a little light in organ building, but I experienced not only Manuel. So many from my English colleagues, they are so open and they give so much advice. I'm very thankful for this.
Yes.
If there is something I can give back, I will happily do that. Yeah.
Yes, it's all connected. We are all connected. And if we can only find the way to appreciate others in our circle and show others' work and just like in these podcast conversations, I'm trying really hard to make you sound and look good. Your work be featured for 89 countries.
Thank you for that. I have a sip of coffee for that. Thank you.
For every conversation that I do, it's my goal. I'm not trying to steal your microphone, Oliver, and appear better than you at organ building, which I'm not, So I'm just trying to help you find help you share your insights and inspiration to wider audience, right? Make you look and sound good. So the same is with other people in our circle, with organ building, organ playing. We all have mentors, right? And mentors are bigger than us, right? Yeah. More experience, bigger companies, organ builder firms from all over the world. And normally they don't pay attention to us, right? Or virtuoso organists who are out there, titular organists at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. But if I can invite them for a virtual cup of cappuccino here on this interview, and they would get excited about sharing their inspiration and get feedback from their fans all over the world. They, right? Just like you are doing this today. And we could keep continuing doing this and keep growing this way, our customer and our fan base in whatever sphere and area is that we are working on, right? It all applies across the board, across the countries. Future generations also could do this. So I'm very happy that you are so generous, Oliver, with your work, that you're showing your work to your future possible customers, and not customers, but to the people who are curious, just like you.
Yes. It doesn't have to be a customer. It's not like a the high classified marketing strategy I have. It's just how I am, and well. Either this way I do it or I do it no way. And
It's like
At the moment, it seems to work.
yes, yes, yes. I just reminded of another tip. We all have to have three types of people in our lives. Mentors who are more experienced than us, right? Who can lead our way. Then our colleagues and peers who are at the same level and basically support each other, and it's a little mastermind effect, right? If pushes themselves and is successful, you also want to be successful at your job, right? And you basically compete with each other in a good way and collaborate also. And the third type of person, you have to have students. You have to have lower type of expertise people where you could share your knowledge with and grow. And that's where you can become the next leader of the future generation of organ builders.
Well, yeah. So that's what we do in our little company here. We have always apprentices because we are facing a lack of experts in many layers of craftsmanship in Germany, and the organ building world is one of them. So I think it's very important to create experts, and that's what we do by taking apprentices here and learning them, showing them what we do.
Wonderful. So, Oliver, thank you so much for coming to the show. And how can people find you and your work online? Can you give them a link?
Yeah, so we have our website, which is www.orgelbau-schulte.de. That's a little bit tricky. Maybe you can find me better on Facebook. Just look for my name, and the guy with the pipe, that's me. And
right.
There are all links and stuff, or just Google Schulte Organ Building. You'll find us.
Yeah. And Schulte is...
I'm happy to meet everybody online or in real world.
Yes. Oliver Schulte is spelled Oliverschulte, right?
Exactly.
And they will come to your website easily. And I will make sure I will include the direct link to your website on the description of this conversation so that people can literally click and visit you and your work.
It was a big pleasure talking to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Oliver. Keep sharing, keep making the organ building world smaller, more connected. And we only have to have three qualities in our work. Be generous. And you are generous because you have shared so much inspiration for 89 countries organists today. That's great. Generous. And then be persistent. So basically be generous more than once. Right? Well, maybe more. Maybe every day. And then number third is be connected. Be connected with the world, and you will have a future that supports yourself.
Three good things to live at. Thank you.
Wonderful. Let's keep in touch. Let me know about your future project so that I could also share this inspiration for my future listeners also. And thank you so much for sharing and keep producing amazing work.
Thank you, Vidas.
If you liked this conversation, I encourage you to visit my blog Secrets of Organ Playing at organduo.lt, where you will find lots of insights, practical advice and training for every area of organ playing. You can subscribe to this blog for free to get your daily dose of inspiration and to be the first to know when any of my future podcasts roll out. I hope to help you reach your dreams in organ playing. I'm Vidas Pinkevičius. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you online really soon.